topic today?
Memory.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, there were a few of us on the call, probably 5-6 minutes ago, and I said, would all of you been on this call if it was 6 months ago? And how things have changed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Alan.
In this topic, hey, we have an upside down.
How come I'm upside down?
Come on, Bob. Here you go, flip yourself. Now you're right where you need to be. So, things have changed, and don't need to tell all of you. Everyone knows it, understands it. So, literally, anything I was going to talk about has changed, because now it's keeping tabs on yourself in a new environment. Look at all of us, by ourselves with our partners, and that's it. In the house. That's it. And all I can share is what's kept me sane in the past week. And this is what's been keeping me sane. If you don't have these Zoom calls on a regular basis, I think you're missing the boat. I started last Thursday, and I'm going to be having a daily call with I invited my top 50 clients to join hands, faces, thoughts, and a new topic every day. And I've had a dozen on the first few times, and I'm sure it'll grow. People heard about it. Had a couple people on that I didn't even send invitations to. So I think for all of us who are used to working with people and being out in the public, maybe speaking, maybe being in front of large groups, if we're not doing something like this in the next 6-7 weeks, I really think we're missing the boat. This keeps us connected. Doug, when you had all those people on one screen, or some couldn't be on the screen, don't tell me you didn't feel like you were connected. And that's what this is all about. And seeing all your lovely faces out there, it's like we're in Reading.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do this more often. Clients.
Does everybody know how to see everybody's faces at the same time using gallery view? Just give me a quick thumbs up if you do.
The gallery view,
No.
upper right-hand corner. Gallery view. You'll see that. That way you can see
Oh, wow.
everybody's face.
Oh, I like it.
So now I've got 20
Wow.
so far. So Bertha said yes.
20.
Yeah. So it's awesome. 20 of you right here.
Yeah.
Right in my office, in all of your offices. And how, when have we ever done that? Just from the start of these calls. And I've done a few of them, and we haven't had 20 on the ones I've done. I don't know who else has done one. Have we ever had 20? This is glorious. It's like a little breakout session. You guys know me that, how long do we have, Wendy? How much time?
We have until 4, and I ask if you're not talking, if you guys could mute yourself. There's a little bit of feedback.
Excellent. So most of you know me, most of you have been in my sessions, and you know darn well that the last thing I want to do is talk for an hour. So I'm not going to. So I gave my little tidbit up front as to what I'm personally doing. I've always been a FaceTime fan, whatever platform you use to talk with my children. Angie and I have 5 children between us. We have 6 grandchildren. And now with the whole, you can put them all on together. It looks like this, on FaceTime. And there's nothing more glorious, but it keeps us connected across the country and sometimes across the globe. So for us, again, one more time, I think you have an opportunity to be with your clients on a regular basis, maybe even more so than you're doing prior by doing this. I saw 12 of my clients earlier today. And you know what? You might be down with what's going on, but I would say more than half of them are exceedingly busy in whatever professions they're in. There are some professions that are absolutely crushing it right now. And not just making toilet paper. There's all kinds of things. So I think with all the brain power on my screen, it is time to turn it over to you guys. What are you guys doing to maintain and thrive your mind at this time? What sort of things are you doing? Don't be bashful.
Well, Alan.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see everybody out there. It's been interesting. I've had the last couple of days have been where I wake up at 5 in the morning. All of a sudden, I have a lot to think about. For some reason or other, I'm thinking about a lot. And I'm brainstorming. I've got, pages and pages and pages of ideas. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit on Thursday. So for all of you that are here, I'd love to see you on Thursday as well. Is it same time, Wendy?
Yes, 3 to 4.
Yes. So I'll be here to speaking about ideas and what I've been doing, how to retool some of the ideas of things that I've been working on, how to stay positive and in the midst of change. But I think as we say to our clients, you've got to change, you've got to adapt, you've got to grow. Are we doing the same thing? That's the question that I put out. And what are we doing to modify and change? And I'm going to dig in. I woke up this morning at 5:30 this morning, and my brain was just going 100 miles an hour. And I got 3 pages of stuff to talk about. So unlike Alan, who's going to turn it over to everybody, I'm going to talk the whole freaking hour. Okay, 45 minutes. Because, I do like to hear myself talk.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But I think we've got to continually look at how do we adapt and change. Are we learning new things? Look behind me. Bookcase is full. How many here have books with signatures from their friends? All of us, or many of us have written books. And one of the things I do is I collect all the books of all my friends, and I please sign it. And I have a whole two shelves full. They're over here of all my friends' books. How many here have that? Just kind of wave or something. If you have a bunch of books with your friends have signed, oh, great copy here. Give me a free copy of your book. Yes, if you do, how many of you have read them all? There was one eye and the rest of guilty looks. Why not spend some time doing that? Maybe you'll pick something up from one of us that we haven't been able to share. So that's one of the things that I'm committed to do is I'm going to read as many of these books that I've had my friends sign over the years. What can I pick up? So that's my 6 cents.
Love it, Rick. Thank you for sharing. Who else is doing something unique?
Hi, Alan.
Hey,
It's Lauren. I went to a business conference that was retooled to virtual like overnight on Friday morning. It was done so successfully and smoothly, and the speakers were great, and the participants had a comfortable time. And the guy who organized it, who up until a week and a half ago was an event planner, and then just changed to be a virtual meeting organizer, said something at the end that struck me. He said, I wish people would stop using the term social distancing. It's physical distancing. Socially, we have the opportunity to be maybe more connected than we ever have been. So I wanted to share that with you.
Well said. Thank you so much. Who else? Before, go ahead.
I don't know who's going to talk. What I've become aware of is this has changed my life. In the last 5 days, I had to get a Zoom account. I had to begin setting up Zoom meetings. And I just, again, I haven't done that before. I participated in Zoom meetings, but it was always somebody else's that I was getting on. And so now and I believe this change is going to outlast what we're living with now. That this is going to be a major change in our lives. As other things become major changes, this will be one. We will never be back to what we were before. And that now, I've certainly worked with people on the phone, but my preference has always been to be in the same room, one-on-one, either with a group or with a single person. I'm discovering, as I discovered many years ago, that the phone was very effective. I'm discovering now that this is probably almost as effective as being in person, and certainly better than just being on the phone. And that's the one takeaway that I've come up with is this is with us forever. Major change in our lives.
You know, we're all creatures of habit. We all know this.
Really? Wow.
You taught me that, Arnie. I took it to heart. So, you know, as the normal day-to-day that we're used to is blown up, and it's not easy to get to, even though Zoom might replace a face-to-face client meeting, there are still upsets to our normal daily routine. Maybe going to get that cup of coffee, you know, maybe driving in your car for this, driving in your car for that, to see someone, whatever it might be. That's the upset we face. So we're doing our best to replace it with things like this, to see everybody. What other things where you can maintain some semblance of who you are or who you need to be?
Alan, will tell you what I did. I looked it up. Last week I had 3 telephone conferences. This week, 1, because I've moved them. Had 1 WebEx last week, 1 GoToMeeting, 4 Zooms last week, 7 Zooms this week, including you, Rick, on Thursday, 1 GoToMeeting, and also this week I have 1 facilitation. I'm actually going to facilitate a strategic plan. I facilitated 2 strategic plans before, so I'm going to do that. In addition, I made my first offer and said, since your people have nothing to do, maybe we should do some sales training. So I did my first ask for a solicitation, and I think in line with what Arnie's saying, this is probably going to become more and more a part of what we're going to do in the future. If we can't make it, we'll start to do video, and it's just going to happen because we're only at the end of week 1 locked up. At least I'm an introvert, so I can handle this. We're going to be locked up for a month. So we got to get used to this, and that's what I've been doing. So I switched all those meetings that I had set up to mostly teleconferences. And Arnie, like you, I set up my first one. I don't know how. I usually am on the receiving end. It's pretty easy to set up a meeting. So, all right, that's what I've been doing to keep me out of trouble.
Thanks for sharing, Tom.
All right, here's a couple things that have really come to focus for me in the last couple of weeks. Actually, having been familiar a little bit with Zoom, I've reached out to my clients to let them know that, hey, this is not the time to stop. This is the time to really dig in. If nothing else, let's dig in and look at processes and systems that they have. And they all go, oh, we never have time to do that. Well, my goodness, now we do. And the other thing that has really, I'm just so blessed to have people that have hung with me on this. I've done individual Zoom calls for individual clients. I have twice a week, 2 different firms where we have 15 people each for our Zoom call instead of me meeting them at their office. Tomorrow afternoon and Wednesday afternoon, I have 25 printers from around the country that we do our regular call monthly that we do. And now I'm forcing them or urging them strongly. I'm poking them with a big stick to transfer this over to Zoom, and they're all excited. They've all practiced. They've called me. They think this is just a whole new world. So for them, even though the print industry is a bit slow, unless they're really printing for essential businesses like healthcare and things, they're finding the time to still meet. So I think it's a matter of us not giving up hope that our clients are not busy. Let's remind them how to utilize their time so that strengthens the value we bring to them. The other thing I'm trying to learn this week, I did my very first video. I am absolutely not a video chicklet. I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, Rick, I see you have this fancy freaking microphone in front of you. I don't even know what that thing is. It looks like a big teddy bear to me, but I'm figuring out how to do the videos. I have yet to figure out how to get it uploaded to YouTube, more importantly, to my person who's going to edit it. But that's why I was a little late to the call. I'm trying to figure out how do I upload this so I can send an email. But there's so much we can be doing to help our clients do the same things. One of the things that I'm doing with a sales team is we're working with them on a regular basis. It's an equipment dealership. They have all kinds of campaigns from the manufacturers out there, and we're calling every customer. I'm having them call every customer, update their CRM or their Salesforce, and remind them of the service department's campaigns that they can bring their tractors and their heavy construction equipment in and get serviced right now. That will keep the service department busy, and at the same time remind businesses that, hey, there's no time like the present. So I think, to your point, Rick, when you wake up and start thinking about things, there's a plethora of stuff out there, as Doug Brown would use that big word. That's the first time I ever heard it was from Doug. You're my man. I think it's putting our attitude, and I know this call's about attitude, it's shifting our attitudes and say, what the heck? If this isn't the most magnificent opportunity I've ever seen, I can't even believe it. I'm jigging for this, and I can hardly wait for 2 months from now when I don't have to get in the freaking car and drive somewhere. I can just tune you up on our own little TV station here. So there's a lot happening.
I'd like to share from what Nancy was just saying. I was learning video, and I attended a workshop this morning, which was going to be in person. And again, like Lauren said, it was overnight almost. The registration and everything was, okay, we're going to Zoom. I was familiar with Zoom, but the presenter was sharing different ways that you can integrate video into LinkedIn and converting your sales. And I said, I'm interested, because I said, I want to learn video. I don't have a YouTube yet, but I want to convert that and do that. So I have a learning hat, and I'm trying to learn everything that I can. It's a household now that it's homeschooling in my household. So I said, okay, I got to be a student too, and part-time teacher. So we're doing it all. And I'm also so excited, Nancy, like you said, this is a great opportunity. And what the gentleman that was presenting this morning said, and I like it, he said, when everyone's zigging, make sure you're zagging. So this is our opportunity, right? I love it. So thanks for that.
You know, one of the neat things about what's going on here is that I'm sure you all have the same thing I do. We have more time. We're not in the car. We have a lot more time. Not only do we have to change our time, but we have more time to do with what we please. You know, Rick's reading books. Nancy's making videos. You know, Bertha's learning new things. This is what it's all about. You know, it's changing your plan. That's what I found myself doing, was changing my strategic plan to survive and thrive during this time. And not just,
Alan,
yeah.
I wanted to go on something that Bertha just said. I was on a Zoom meeting this morning, not professional. It was with my synagogue. And the rabbi's doing coffee with the rabbi every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:30. And it's just putting a lot of people together, about 20, 25 this morning, same as this one. And people were sharing what they were doing. I'm busy. I was writing down, the New York Times has the 50 best Netflix video. I wrote that down. Somebody else talked about things that they were on. And I said, could you email that out? And so then I got something else. And so this call is proving the same thing, which we understand. We know it in our heads that collaboration is wonderful. The more people we get ideas from, the more ideas we get. And this is enabling collaboration on a major scale that we never saw before, which go back to my earlier comment about life will change.
Agreed.
Back to me.
Speaking of collaboration, I don't know where he appears on your screen. On my screen, he's right next to me, but there may be a face that you don't recognize called Chris Noble. And Chris has joined Paradigm, went through agility training the beginning part of the year. And Nancy, the reason why I made it a point to introduce him is Chris has spent the last 17 or 20 years in the magazine publishing business with a little publication called ESPN, the magazine. So you may have if you need the equivalent of another subject matter expert to be able to join your 25 printers from around the country, you may have a resource that up until this point I wouldn't have known you needed and you wouldn't have known existed. So feel free to connect up.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. And welcome, Chris.
Well, thanks, Alan.
Well-
And Doug, thank you. And Nancy, yes, if I can help in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to reach out. As Doug said, a very long background in magazine publishing, first at Hearst Magazines with Smart Money Magazine, and then at ESPN for 22 years with ESPN, the magazine. So I know just from my own experience as a newbie, I'm what you call a newbie here, right? So what I've found is that whether it's with someone who's a potential prospect or just someone who is a friend, right now they need that support. So when whoever it was talking about, I think it was Arnold was talking about, Arnie was talking about his rabbi and having coffee. I've done already coffees with a number of friends, cocktail hours with a number of friends, whiskey tasting, I was telling Doug about that earlier, scheduled. And what ends up happening is you're trying to create a sense of normalcy, right, out of what's obviously not normal. And many of the people who are professionals who I'm talking to, they're struggling, if they're not used to working from home, they're struggling now with this new reality where they're not going into the office, or they're laying people off, or furloughing people, all really difficult things. So not only is it possible to do things in a business way that you've never done before, it's possible to do things in just a humane way of support that is really appreciated. I'm sure most clients would appreciate too on a personal level as well. That's my 2 cents. I'll back out now as the newbie.
Thanks, Chris. What else, guys?
Well, quick something. And yesterday, many of you know that I'm a member of the National Speaker Association. I'm actually on the board of directors locally here for our chapter. And they put out a lot of great stuff. I mean, a lot of good stuff, especially for training for us. And so every speaker, like us, like every consultant, speakers, our business died. If you're a speaker, you ain't speaking. I've already had everything pushed till October. I was supposed to speak next week. Everything's pushed till October. So now we're all trying to retool. And the whole retooling piece, Zoom has become an incredible tool. So as I look through the 20, 24, 23 people that are in the room here, we're all going to have to start doing that. We're starting to see some success. Now, some fun stuff. And those that know me, and Chris, I hope you get to know me soon because we have the same barber, so we'll get along well. And our third brother over in the corner, Mr. Kovitz. But I like to have fun doing stuff. I love to have fun doing stuff. And so my wife and I, last week with a couple that we get along with, she had just had surgery, and of course we're all in quarantine. I've had a potential exposure. I'm healthy. I'm fine. It's almost 2 weeks. I think I'm pretty out of the woods right now. So we decided to do a Zoom happy hour. We literally sat out on our patio and we had a happy hour. We put my iPad, because remember, Zoom has iPad, iPhone, you can do it on computer. It's got platforms for everything. And we sat for an hour and talked to our friends with a glass of wine and chatted, and just like we were sitting there. So there's a lot of ways to use the tool that you have. Great tools that we have. And what I did yesterday is I took an hour and a half long seminar on, and it's resident on the NSA site. So if I could share it with you, I would, but I wouldn't be able to get you wouldn't be able to log in. But they find out how you can use this tool. Look at your background. Look at Alan's background. What's Alan got in his background? Little self-promotion, which is perfect. So when you're talking to your clients, Nancy, you said you grabbed a bunch of your clients, right? How do you self-promote? What's going on behind you? How do you have, what's going on visually? How many here are on their computer camera, with their computer screen, their camera? Okay. How many here have a separate camera? Nancy and me. I went out years ago and I bought a Logitech high def stereo camera. Now, I just invested in this new microphone. So the sound is better. Sound is one of those things that's so important. If sound is crappy, people won't want to listen to you. Keep that in mind. This was 120 bucks, the whole setup. And I actually have one of those big arms that came with it, but I don't like it. Invest in that for yourselves. I've got a green screen setup that I bought years ago. I don't have it on now, but if I wanted to, you can set up. Zoom will allow you to do that. Use the tools that you have available to us. A lot of us, this is new stuff. Arnie, you said, I never did this before. I had to get a Zoom account. Get a Zoom account. In fact, I'll put up a link for a link to a Zoom subscription so you guys can have it. I'll put it in the chat so you have it. Allow yourselves to do this and set yourself up a background that's fun, that's whatever, who you want to be. You know, some of us, there's our kitchens, and I'm not making fun of anybody by any stretch of the imagination, but being real. You know, I'm looking at a couple of ceilings. We want to set ourselves up professionally so our client, Cleveland, I don't know what you're doing, but you're playing with some filters. And we have filters. Get yourself a good high def camera, a good microphone, and you look like a pro. I started doing podcasts about 2 months ago. I do video podcasts. This is where I do them. I sit right here where I'm doing it, and I'm on the phone recording them. And they're up. And it's going to be fun. We're having some cool guys, having some fun people on there. But the reality of it is, make yourself look like you know what you're doing. And Doug, I don't know if it was you, but I think you were in the room at one point. If you want to look like you want to be $1 million business, you got to look like $1 million business. And I remember I took that away from one of the affiliates. So make yourself look like I'm in a studio. I'm set this up. This is a professional studio. And it's not. It really isn't. It's literally what most people will think is my dining room. But I put bookcases back there. I got my own little banner back there. I want everybody to just see who I am and brand it. So if I can suggest to you, don't do it in your living room or your kitchen, on your kitchen counter. Make it look right. Do it right. So that's my 6 cents again.
Thanks, Rick. So we're talking, go ahead, Lauren. Unmute.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to add to that, Rick and everyone, at the business conference I attended the other day, a couple people had backgrounds, and the background was their logo, their company name, maybe a motto. And so I emailed Jenna, and she's working on that, because I think that could be a wonderful thing to have an alternative to your normal home office background that you could just pop on, and it would say Orion Development Associates behind me with my logo.
Yeah, Lauren, real quick, and this is one of the what I learned yesterday. Zoom has a feature, and you can get a green screen. So everybody familiar with what a green screen is? Literally, a green screen is a piece of green cloth that's that color, and you can buy them for $20 and hang it up behind you. Literally $20, and you now have it, and it'll superimpose whatever you put up there. So you can have that ability as well.
Okay,
So,
great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. You know, we're talking about the extra time that we all have now, you know, and our attitude. So there's many things that you can do with that time. What are you lot doing with your time? Well, without everyone hopping in at once, I can share what I've been doing. One, my gym and a client of mine, we are doing virtual workouts, so I'm able to work out very similarly to as I was driving to the gym. I can do that in my basement. Works out great. But I've also been doing more yoga than I normally do. Yoga is a very centering thing to do. So that's one way I'm keeping myself in tune with myself. What else are you people doing? Sleeping more? What are you doing?
I
I'll
think
share.
my dogs are exhausted. We take them on long walks. The dogs are like, they don't know what's going on, but they were walking them like miles. They come home exhausted. A lot of long walks.
Awesome, Chris. What else?
I'll share.
As in most things, schedule, create a structure for yourself. and that in myself is I mean, I haven't had to shift very much because I've always had a structure, and I continue that structure. Today it happens to be raining, so I have to walk 40 minutes on a treadmill. I'm halfway through it. I mean, because again, I have to do that. And, you know, where's Jerry when you need him to talk about 10,000 paces a day? But it's structure. It's time will go. It can be frittered away. If you know, in my own structure, the only time I'm allowed to watch Netflix is between 8 and 11 at night. I mean, that's when I'm allowed to watch Netflix. During the day, I've always had the structure that between 9 and 5, if I have nothing to do, I'm reading something that's professional. I'm doing something that's professional. And this can't change. So it's creating for yourself the structure that's going to move you to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
Alan, can I share something with you?
I hope so. Please.
This was something that I put out in terms of things that we could do, in terms of things that we could work on. And again, I quoted both Ray in this as well as Grant. During times of change, people gravitate towards structure. So having routine, having something that you're going to do as opposed to just sitting around moping is certainly something that I believe in. But I love the quote from our buddy Grant Tate: "Don't drift, explore." You have the opportunity to really kind of get things done. This whole idea of what are all of those things, you know, that have been on our to-do list. And so I just kind of put this out on Facebook and to some of the other groups, just to give people an opportunity to kind of think things through a little bit, being able to have something to focus on outside of ourselves. Because I think where we put our focus at this particular point, we can be focused on helping others, or we can be focused about it's all about me. And I know which one I believe is going to, which one is going to pay the most dividends long term. You know, the other thing that's really occurred to me over the last couple of days, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this just for now. The other thing that's really occurred to me over the last couple of days is we've got a document that's basically our kind of inventing our future document. In the old days, it may have been called the 10-year projection. And in that projection, isn't it interesting that there's a question that said, what would you want to accomplish if you had an hour, or a day, or a week, or 2 weeks? I'm going to suggest that all of you go back to the time that you wrote that document, assuming that you did it for yourself as part of an implementation at one point or the other. And what were some of those things that were in this? If I had 2 weeks, this is what I'd like to get done. And why not eat our own dog food and kind of take on some of those things? I'd like to switch hats just for 1 second. And I just want to give people a piece of news that just, I don't expect, I'm not trying to turn this into a bummer, but I want to be able to kind of share this as a public service announcement. One of the guys that I sing with happened to be the former head of epidemiology and disease for the US military. And what he basically said was, even if everybody cooperates and kind of stays inside and everybody really play along, it's probably going to be 8 to 11 weeks before we start going down the downside of the roller coaster. So I'm telling you that for 2 reasons. I'm telling you that so you can start to look at this as a 10 to 12 to 13 week window in terms of what kinds of things you want to plan for. And again, I'm not trying to get anybody unduly upset on this thing, but if you think we're talking about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks before things are likely to be lifted and social distancing is going to be a thing of the past and so on, based on talking with his colleagues, fellow nationally renowned epidemiologists, that's not really going to happen, or it's not likely to happen. So I'm thinking about that from how do I want to start to manage my clients differently if I know that they're also going to be going through this 10, 11, 12, 13-week period. So again, I'm not giving you that information as a bummer. I'm giving you that information so we all have perspective that says, okay, despite the happy news, the happy talk of, oh, okay, well, everybody, schools are going to be closed to the end of the month, or, gyms are going to be closed until April 5th. That's probably pretty far removed from what's going to be the reality of the situation. And I'd rather have you guys be forewarned and forearmed than kind of have, no pun intended, the Chinese water torture of this thing going a week by week after week after week, and not really be kind of the having real expectations out in front of you. So that's, I say that just from what it's worth.
So Doug, the question I have for you specifically, because you had the floor, and thank you for sharing that, by the way, in all ways, the screen, the document, which I had the pleasure of seeing before. What are you doing with your additional time?
Well, I got to admit, for this last week, between organizations that existing assignments that I've been working on, existing new assignments that I got last week, groups that I'm talking with, I was literally on Zoom calls, and I'm not exaggerating. I was on Zoom calls Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday from 9 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And then these last 2 days, I literally had 10-hour days working on projects that somebody wanted this morning. So all the stuff that I originally thought I was going to have to just kind of sit around and start to attack, I don't say this proudly, I haven't even had enough time to sing a song, which blows my mind. I've got my first virtual rehearsal, or my first virtual rehearsal for a second organization tonight at, it's 7 o'clock. But I literally have been so slammed in terms of helping other people kind of work with this that I haven't even had a chance to go over my own music, which I never thought would have been the case a week ago. And while I've got this brain trust on the line, I'm wondering if we can do something to really help a whole bunch of people. Wonder if we did a recording with our friendly suggestions of how to help people manage a remote staff. And I'm wondering if we could do this as opposed to us doing our own individual ones. I wonder if we could do one under the name of Trusted Advisors, putting it out there, having the equivalent of kind of going back and forth and talking about anybody who would want to contribute to those ideas, kind of putting it out, posting it on YouTube, and see if we can't get some national traction as opposed to us only being worried about ourselves. If that's something that other people would be interested in, I certainly would be interested in terms of kind of helping people learn how they need to manage differently when all of a sudden they went from being able to stand up and walk 3 feet to talk to people to, well, God, how do I know they're really working? How do I know they're doing this? And all the managerial anxiety that may be taking. So I will let, if people are interested, that you can kind of give us the high sign. We can certainly let, Wendy, Wendy kind of be our chief coordinator on something like that. If you think you'd have insights. I mean, the beauty of something like this is I can even see all your names, because of the way you logged in. So if nothing else, when this comes up on YouTube, if nothing else, you're going to get some name face recognition that says, hey, people were interested in helping. Let's see if we can help our country kind of get through this and come out the other end.
It's funny you mention that, Doug. I know a young man that's been doing that for years. A lot of you on this call know Eric Kovitz, my second son, who works for Amazon. He's in their flow department in Phoenix, and he manages the warehouses from Phoenix, Arizona. So he does this. This is what he does every day, and obviously he's had to be successful to get where he is. That's what he does, and he's been doing it. So there are a lot of people out there that have been doing it a lot longer than we have, and have a lot of experience. I say bringing that experience to the table would be very valuable.
If I could go back to, I guess, Alan, you keep asking what is everybody doing with their extra time. I think the most important thing that I've been doing, and I keep hearing in terms of a theme on this call, is thinking about how you do things differently and how you capitalize on the situation. I would be very careful, however, to assume that this means that everybody has more time. I mean, I just got off a call with a client who has a brick and mortar business that's been forced to close, and she can't find the time to figure out how to come out the other side because she's got childcare issues, two people working at home and trying to find the space. I have another client who has an elderly mother that she now has to care more for. So I would be really careful about just taking the approach with people, and even with people on this call, that says you've got all kinds of time now, because I think time is different. I'm not sure people are viewing it as having more time. So for me, it's really about thinking about how to do things differently and how to come out the other side in a stronger position.
What sort of things are you doing, Virginia? Well said, thank you. So what sort of things are you doing?
I'm doing what you guys are doing. I mean, I'm implementing video. At least one of my professional organizations has gone to remote mixers and remote functions, so I'm joining those. I'm setting up video networking meetings, things like that. And I'm really, like the client I was on the phone with today, I'm just trying to help them navigate through what is doing it differently mean for you, for the issues that you're facing right now. Because she runs a massage business, she can't do that over video.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's a real travesty. So it's a tough situation. I think we all have to help people think about what is doing things differently mean for you.
No doubt. No doubt. Here's another.
Go
ahead, Charles.
Where I live, all non-essential business closes tonight at 8 o'clock, and people are afraid. People are very worried about cash management because, like Doug said, this probably isn't 2 or 3 weeks. It's much more. And I guess one of the things I've been doing is there's this whole plethora of laws and whatnot are coming out both federal and state level, trying to help people with this type of problem. I'm just trying to digest that and understand what's possible for clients.
Thanks. What are you all enjoying now?
If I could add one thing.
Of course.
There's no denying there's crazy things going on in the world, and you're going to have some businesses that are taking off, and you're going to have other businesses that are really struggling. My question to you is, you can sit in front of the TV and you can try and watch mindless travel, and you're going to get interrupted with the latest news bulletin. And that continuous barrage of negative stuff coming into your head does have an impact on it. So where I throw it out to you is, what do each one of you need to do? I've got affirmations. I say my affirmations all the time. And to be quite honest, There are times where I am saying no much more frequently. You know, one I have learned is I love my kids. I love my kids. You put a 16 and 14-year-old, you know, in the house, no outside, no nothing, but I kind of do that to bring a little bit of levity to the situation. But what are you doing for your mental health? What are you doing to keep yourself in the right mindset? Because as consultants, coaches, we can't help anybody if our head's not in the right space. I'm sorry, Alan, that's my 2 cents.
That's the question.
I think Wendy nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. It's how do you keep your head? Thanks for chewing up half of my seminar on Thursday. No, you know, and Alan, I mean, you know, you guys, you know me, I'm a jokester, but I'm serious about what I do, but I won't take myself seriously. Hey, you know, Jimmy Buffett is I love Jimmy Buffett. Guess what? He's putting on free concerts. So at night you get to watch Jimmy Buffett, but during the day, and that gets me happy. I want to be on the beach. So, you know, find things like that you can do to get the joy out of this. Because we heard it. I mean, Doug, I love you, brother, but yeah, you kind of punched us all in the nose a little bit. But the reality, it's really, you know, it's the bald truth kind of thing. You're bringing it out. We have to know these things. And we're like islands anyway. As consultants or coaches, whatever you want to call yourself, we live on this island. We're all solopreneurs by ourselves. We're sitting here in our desks at our homes, or if we're not with a client, by ourselves. We've got to do it more so because we're hearing it more. And Wendy's right. What are your affirmations? What are you telling yourself? Are you praying? I mean, I'm praying more than ever now. I'm all over that. You know, what are you doing that's going to give you that positive input? And I love, Wendy, I love the affirmations. You know, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up on Thursday, which I will anyway. Yeah.
Well,
find some fun with it.
I for some reason I was thrown off. I just got back on. But I need to acknowledge Wendy because she just did something for me that was phenomenal. I had a routine. My affirmations are always in the car as I'm driving out every morning. And I've realized I haven't done my affirmations in a week because I'm not driving out going to a client or going somewhere. So now I have to rethink what my affirmations are. They're probably pretty much the same, but rethink when I'm going to say them and do them. So I just needed to say, Wendy, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That was worth the call for me.
Hey, a quick discovery I made a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, on affirmations and how do you do it. And I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's my wallpaper.
Oh, I like it.
Nice, Mike.
And so I see it whenever I pick up the phone, and sometimes I think, oh, that one. I only got 3, right? And that's all I want. So anyway, that helped me a whole lot.
What are great ideas, guys.
So Doug, you asked, I am fortunate enough to live on a barrier island, so I get to walk 2.5 miles every day on the beach. So Rick can be jealous about that. Anyway, one of the things I thought about is new ideas. Realized that the advisors group has LMS, and so we may have to be presenting LMS to some of our people. Here's one of my clients, and they're a company called Rock Technologies, and what they did is they've taken advantage of COVID-19 and they come up with cloud relief effort. They created a whole new product. And what it's about is they're in the GIS, the Geographic Information System, like Google Maps. They're in that business, and they help people that have their own servers go to the cloud. So they've come up with a brand new idea. So what can we as a group come up with is a brand new idea that we can use through trusted advisors. LMS is a way to do that. Is there anything new? And what Doug was talking about before is, can we do something on working remotely? Because there's going to be more of that. So if the group could come up with an idea at some point, be kind of neat to roll it out to everyone and trusted advisors. So That's what you can think about when you're walking the beach.
Hey, I like that, Tom. In fact, I was talking to Gerard this morning, and same kind of thing. Is there something, I get lots and lots of emails, right? And all kinds of seminars and people advising on, how to work at home and how to deal with this, how to deal with that. And it's probably about 80% duplicative. Every now and then there's something new, but not often. And so if trusted advisors could come up with something that was kind of like unique to the world, that would make a big difference. It'd make a difference to me for sure. And I don't know what it is yet, but worth a group thing.
Find it, Mike.
What do we have related to crisis management or helping a client right now with something that they're facing now or over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks? Which process or part of a program or workshop or facilitation tool?
Well, it's kind of going to the whole strategic thinking, strategic planning for, okay, our current strategic plan pretty much needs to be looked at and modified going forward. So what does that new plan look like? And I'm not saying it has to be all of strategic planning with them, but as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was strategic planning. And then followed by that, it's pulling out the goal planning sheets. What do we got to do and how do we make it happen? That's.
I think, you beat me to the punch. It's a goal planning sheet because people are nervous and afraid. They want to know what they can do now. So that's an immediate thing. The other thing I think we can get some more grip on with the process is contingency planning. I think, it's one thing, Doug was talking about the time frame. And as much as we talk about the time frame, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be 5 weeks, if it's going to be 12 weeks, 6 months, or a year. We just don't. So that takes in numerous views of any plan. There's got to be different time horizons. Look, I still believe in miracles. I really do. And I hope someone finds a drug that a month from now, this thing can be settled. That's a possibility. Might not be likely, but it's a possibility. So what happens if that's the case? What happens if that's the case that 9 weeks from now, 14 weeks from now? These are all contingencies. And to me, there are differences in the time horizons. So be it through a goal planning sheet or through strategic planning or what have you. But, I don't know if our strategic planning modality takes in contingencies. We're usually going on one track. This is our vision. This is our mission. Here's what we're doing to get there. So anyway, it might take the creation of multiple missions depending on a time horizon.
Alan, I want to build off of that. There's probably one section that my guess has probably been underutilized in the past that may become increasingly important to our clients going forward. And that's in the strategic planning process. The question is asked, what assumptions are you making about what's going to happen during this planning period? And I got to admit, a lot of people kind of don't give that the same in-depth look that I oftentimes wish that they would.
Yeah.
But there's also another question that's later on in the process, and that's what reaction, if any, do you expect from your competitors? And I think if we help people think through, number one, what are they going to do? And number two, what's the likely competitive reaction? And I think that's going to be particularly critical as people are coming out of this, as we will, but as organizations are going to rebuild, the competitive pressure to try to get that first mover advantage coming out of this thing, I have every reason to believe that something significant is going to happen there. And who knows, maybe that's Maybe that's a subject for another trusted advisor Zoom call.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Doug, because I think, you know, the better prepared, well, obviously ourselves, and just as importantly, our clients in the world, you know, I think that's how we can help. Not only our clients, but business people. You know, I've been working with our local chamber to talk with more business people. They don't have they don't know where to go all the time. And that's something we can help them with, is that thought process of getting in the right place personally, but getting in the right place depending on what happens here. So, you know, that's my thrust going forward, guys. You know, is in helping the community to prepare for what's happening next. Business-wise, that's what my realm is. So
one of the things, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that that's part of the answer to clients like Lauren's, is thinking about what are you going to do now so that you can prepare. If you've got no business now, you can't do massage. How are you going to keep in touch with your clients, and how are you going to help them prepare? And I think when Nancy first mentioned process improvement work, I mean, that's what I've been saying to everybody that I talk to, is that this is the time. You never have time. This is the time to do it. And I actually think that Doug's friend is being optimistic. I'm having people think about September. This is going to be we don't know, but contingencies, you need to have a contingency out for quite a while. And then, so I'm not being a negative Nelly. I left the Animal Planet channel on this weekend, and every time I walked past the TV, there were puppies and kittens. And so that's what I do to relax. If I walk past the TV, there's puppies and kittens, I'm good.
One of the things that I saw that I put out was, oh, somebody's here. I was trying to give back. The last week in my devotional, I do a devotional with about 30 other guys virtually. They're all over the country. I just put it on social media. Some of you may have seen it. I tried to get it as many places as I can get. Who needs to talk? Right now, people are scared. We are afraid, we're scared. And I'm making an assumption. You know, as you said, Doug, we talked about assumptions. I'm making an assumption that we're all okay right now for the moment. But people moving out are scared. My son-in-law doesn't work. He's a brand new dad, and he has no job. His restaurant is shut down. No income, zero coming in. They don't have a huge bunch of savings, but you know, we're going to help them whatever we can. Is how can you reach out to your clients and say, look, if you just want to talk to somebody, it's a weird time, you want to talk to somebody, just call me. I'll give you 30 minutes. There's no charge. There's no expectations. There's nothing. Get out there. Give back. And like I said, the devotional and Bible study I've been doing is on how do you give? Is generosity. What the whole last 8 days has been on generosity. How do we give back to our clients? All the stuff that we've gotten from them. Because when you put good out in the world, you get good back. And just say to them, you know what? I appreciate you as a client. And I know you're scared and you're afraid because you've got X amount of people that you're responsible for. I just want to be that sounding board. I don't have no expectations. If we never do another lick of business, it doesn't matter. But I'm here for you. And put that good out there, guys. I think that's going to transform a lot of what's going on out there is the mindset piece. It's been out there. So do that. And I'm going to take it from a guy who used to be in a network, Dan Paulson. As I saw it, he did it. And I said, oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to do it. So now I've had a couple of calls. A couple of people reached out. I started texting, hey, if you want to talk, do that. I just put one out to an old client who's a CEO of a $500 million healthcare conglomerate who lost his job about 2 years ago. And he says, thanks, Rick. I now just picked up a new job. I now have another 44 locations and 100 docs that I'm the CEO for a conglomerate of. said, you want to talk, just talk. He says, I'll reach out for you this week. Now, I'm going to give it to him for free. I don't expect anything back. Do you think he's going to want to bring me back on to do some coaching for him and his new company in this crazy time? My thought process is probably yes, but I'm not doing it for that. I just said, hey man, I hadn't talked to you in a while. And I didn't know about it. He had just gotten the job a couple of weeks ago. And so he's learning how to work virtually. Just
Well
a
done,
thought.
Rick. I mean, some of the marketing things I've seen from businesses that have been, I've been a client of for a long time. I think a lot of the sales pitches today are disingenuous. So I really like, this is a crazy time. I think coming out too hard now is not the right thing to do. It's exactly what I've been doing with my clients, Rick. So I'm all over it, brother. Love it.
I'm just having fun. I'm doing podcasts and everybody's free. Everybody's got time. So, hey, come on, let's get on. Let's talk what's going on. So we're going to see a whole bunch of bald truths coming out.
What else? Last call. Right, Wen? We're done, right? 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time for being here, and a special thank you for Alan for facilitating this with us. Stay tuned. The next Learning Lab is going to be on Wednesday.
Thank you, Alan.
Peace.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.